2 more minutes. I get nervous and you're fine, right?
I'm good. I'm fine.
So we have that warning that you said. What do you call it? I'm not gonna remember.
Trigger warning.
Trigger warning, content warning.
Oh, but maybe I was being extra undramatic. So
no, I'm used to disclaimer.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's good. It's needed because I don't think about it. But sometimes people get really upset around the topic, and so this warns them. You could turn this off now.
Or just press it. It helps them be prepped because sometimes if you're like, oh, this is gonna be nice, and then you're like, wait a minute.
Well, I'm horribly unprofessional, so it shouldn't be that.
No. But see, my voice, I think, gives the feeling like, well, we're all happy together.
That's right.
But your voice is so soothing too, though. When you're doing it, it's so soothing and it's so relaxing. So, yeah.
1 minute. Sweaty palms, all the signs of anxiety are with me. And then I gotta remember to admit people, and I can't see. I'm with my glasses in Medford. So you'll have to see if somebody needs to be admitted. You just press the button and admit them.
Okay, cool. Because my eyesight, ironically, is not that good either.
But you're wearing your glasses.
Yeah, you would think, right?
I love the glasses.
I identify with that so well.
I just can't. I still can't
see everything.
I still can't.
So we can start. Is the mic working? I don't see it. Do you see the mic?
Yeah, it's good.
He says it's recording. Okay. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today with Mind Matters. I'm Dr. Jean Bacon from Butterfly, and today we're going to talk about adolescent mental health with special guest, youth activist Paige Klein. Before we begin today's discussion, I would like to take a moment to advise you that this discussion may contain sensitive material that may be distressing for some. If at any time you're feeling distressed, please know that if you wish to leave the live session, these sessions are recorded and can be emailed to you at a later time. So I want you to meet Paige Klein. She is a youth activist and very involved in the community. She's made the mask that we're wearing, which her and her family donate to hospitals, and they sell them online to individuals. She's also involved in cultural diversity and speaking out about youth mental health to her peers as well as to adults to explain some of the issues faced by young people that are compromised by mental health issues. Why are we having this discussion about mental health? Why is this important? According to the World Health Organization, half of all mental health conditions start by 14 years old, and most of these cases go undetected and undiagnosed. Suicide is the second leading cause of death in 15 to 19 years old. Not addressing adolescent mental health concerns extends to adulthood and can cause multiple impairments in various domains that can include interpersonal, vocational, physical, and mental health. So we're going to have a conversation with Paige Klein about her experience of being a mental health advocate for young people. Paige, welcome.
Thank you. Because mental health is such an important aspect in my life, and it should be in everybody's life. Mental health is physical health. Mental health is health. And I think it's important to have a conversation about, learning about mental health, learning about mental illnesses, learning about mental disabilities, because it is life. And everyone struggles in life. Everyone has, hardships in life, and that's just how it is. But the thing is, if we don't talk about those things like suicide, things like self-harm, things like depression and anxiety and PTSD, things happen like that. And when we ignore those things, we ignore people's lives. And that cannot stand. So it's important to talk about it, especially in youth and in children and teenagers, because they don't know what's going on in the world. They don't have the life experience as an adult does, or sometimes they don't even have, role models to look up to about it. And the only way for me right now to help them is to speak on my personal experiences and to connect with people in the community who also struggle.
What is the challenge as a young person struggling with mental health issues? What is the challenge to you to get the information out there, but also to be heard and respected by the adults in the community?
Right. So trust is number one key, and to trust it, you cannot, ask for trust. You cannot ask to be trusted. You have to just be trusted. And it's hard to identify people who you can trust, who you should trust, who should try to trust. And the only thing that I can say is that if you can't trust anybody, the only person you need to trust is yourself. And because you know yourself the best, no one's going to know you more. And you need to trust yourself in believing who you should talk to. Should I talk to this person? No. Maybe I should talk to this person instead. Maybe I should talk to one of my friends instead of my family. Whoever is most, you're most comfortable with, that's the most important part of the trust aspect, to learn about yourself, is to trust yourself and believe in yourself, and don't, you just have to believe. You can't, oh, I don't feel like I should do this, but like, what, just do it, because if you can't trust anybody, trust yourself. You'll always have yourself in the end of the day. So that's just the most important part, to reach out.
I wonder, what have you seen as far as the cultural differences in young people asking for help?
Mhm.
What do you see?
I mean, I can't speak on everyone's different experiences, but being white and Asian, I'm Asian American. I know, especially in Asian cultures, it's very difficult to be talking about mental health. It's hard to talk about, oh, I feel something, I feel it's not normal, I can't do certain things because it's demonized. Oh, it's a demon inside of you, we're going to get it out. And that's not, that's just not, it makes you feel some type of way. You can't trust that person now. Oh, I must be, a criminal, I must be insane, I must, feel.
So the extremes.
Right, exactly. And being unable to talk to someone who you need to, and to be demonized, is just not the way to handle the situation. And I can't speak for everyone's cultural, but I know in mine that's how it is, and it's not great.
Yeah, I don't think it's only in the Asian or the Asian American
Right.
culture where that happens. I think many cultures talking about mental health is taboo,
Hmm.
or it's related to their spiritual understanding that there's a devil in you, there's something bad that's possessing you, and you just need to get it out of you. Other people just talk about it by diminishing it.
Mm.
Okay, we all know that we have people in our family, they ain't right, or there's something wrong with them, and it's not been diagnosed because there's such a stigma with asking for help. And when it comes to young people, my understanding is that the places that we have established for young people to come for help, they don't always feel safe in them. And so either a friend will tell them, oh, don't go to that office because they're really not going to help you, or don't go there because they gossip about us, or don't go there because they don't like people that look like us or act like us. So whether or not it's a gender issue or an identification issue, there often can be something negative attached to it that would lead a young person just not want to say it. I spoke to a young man just today, and he attends a private school, and he was struggling with mental health issues. And he said that the first response was, well, do you need to take a medical leave? Are you suicidal? Do you need to go to the hospital? And he describes, he was an African American male, and he describes himself as just shutting down, like the wall and the veil just came over him because he felt unsafe. He felt like, I'm talking to someone that by their title, I should be able to talk about my mental health struggles. But the response was so over the top, it scared him and made him think, I can't trust this person. And I've got to really check out who I talk to about this, because he felt endangered, like someone was going to take over and make his decision for him, or that his school would be interrupted because they were feeling like what he was saying was so extreme. When he described it, it wasn't extreme. It was just that I am struggling. And so I'm wondering how we differentiate life struggles that may be mental illness. At this period, you're not coping well, you're depressed, you're anxious, you're isolating. So situational mental health occurs where people are just struggling with a true life event in which anyone would be disturbed about, compared to a diagnosable chronic mental illness. So for young people, how to, and for some older viewers, how do we explain the difference so that they're not overreacting to a young person's claim for struggling or depression or feeling uncomfortable in their body?
Right. There's always a difference between feeling anxious, feeling depressed, than being depressed and being anxious. Um, everyone can feel depressed sometimes. It's just, feeling that weight, stress, you're trying to take a test that you've been studying for so long and that's making you upset, and that's completely normal and completely fine. I mean, that's not fine, but you know what I mean? It's not, like that's a normal thing to happen.
Mm-hmm.
When it's, constantly, and you can't, when it's unidentifiable, that's when you should start to like wonder. It's like, okay, well, maybe I don't have a test today, and I know that I get anxious when I have tests, but why do I feel that right now?
Mm-hmm.
It's starting to have that conversation with yourself and being like, well, what are the situations I'm in when I start to feel these things? Mm-hmm. And by talking to that's the thing with the whole trust aspect, is that when a teenager or a child is coming to you as an adult saying about these things, whether it's, oh, I'm feeling depressed, or I think I am depressed, mm-hmm. it's to believe them immediately. There's no, it's okay to be wrong, but to believe them immediately and not ask any other further questions, then okay, then let's we're on board with this then. Okay, mm-hmm. I'm here to help. And that's the most important thing about a relationship like that, is to believe them, to trust them. And it goes both ways, for the child to trust you to tell them, and for you to trust them and believe them. I know what it's like going to a therapist who I can't trust and who I don't feel comfortable, but that's the thing about, the position that adults have in children's lives, is that we have no choice but to believe you. We want to believe you. You have this career, and we want to believe you. If you tell me that I'm diagnosed with blank, then I'm going to believe you. Who am I to disagree? And that's why it's so important to, when you're, especially in this field, that's why I'm so glad I came to Butterfly, but is to, truly be in depth in this conversation and not just brush it off as a normal black and white conversation, but a whole spectrum of life. So that's just the most important thing. It's like just to believe in each other and to have the serious conversation, besides having, like a lighthearted conversation. I mean, it can be light, but it's a serious topic, mm-hmm. and it could cost someone's life. So it is important to have.
Can you tell us a little bit about your journey to getting the resources and the support that you need, mm-hmm. to be stronger and healthy? So I'd like you to personalize it as much as you're comfortable, mm-hmm. but also think about other individuals and other situations, how your story or your journey could be helpful to other young people that may not know where to turn.
Right. And I didn't notice things were, I think I started noticing when things were happening when I was going into 9th grade. So maybe like, what age is that? 15, maybe less than that, 14, 13. And I had no idea about anything about mental health. I didn't understand, what was going on. And I don't think anybody around me understood either. And so it was, oh, we'll just pull you from school. It's like that one conversation you had with your other patient, but it was like, okay, we'll just pull you from school. Well, I went to, I did home instruction for a year, and then I did PM school for the rest of my high school career. So, and it wasn't about, oh, let me, give you accommodations. It was more like, okay, we'll pull you from the situation. And so I was a little bit confused as to why now I have to miss out on things that I could have probably enjoyed, like awareness weekends and, like pep rallies and homecomings, and I never got to do those things because of the fact that I was removed. And so I was wondering to myself, I still feel like garbage. Like they said that this would help, but I still don't feel right. There's something wrong here. And, when I realized that I couldn't live anymore like a walking zombie, I needed to get the help that I needed. And that was the biggest conversation that I had with myself and the biggest change in my life. To sit down and be like, you know what, I need to go back to therapy. Like, I need to do it, because if I don't, this is not going to work for my life. And that was the switch. And like, that's why I'm so glad I met you, because I don't think I could have done anything that I have done up till now without you. And I mean that sincerely, but like, it's true. And, I didn't notice that I went through trauma as a child. Growing up in a dangerous environment, I had no idea that it was dangerous at all until I was like, wait a minute, that's not normal. You have to sit back and be like, wait, that's not right. And so it kind of just hits you sometimes to notice like, oh, I thought everything was like, this is how people live, but it's not. And, to identify that is difficult, but also it's the start of your healing. It's to identify what went wrong and how to heal from that. And so after you do that, I still struggle a lot. I can't do the things that I want to do sometimes. And sometimes, but at least I give myself credit for when I try. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know when it goes wrong, and I can just get slapped in the face. And I'll be like, oh, I'm ready to do this. I show up and it's done. It's not, it's not going to work. But I can sit back and be like, you know what? I feel like maybe a month ago, I wouldn't have be able to even think about this. So it's by taking small victories and climbing that ladder, that's how you start your healing and your progress. And, progress is not linear. You can go up the ladder and down the ladder. But as long as you are on the ladder, that's all that matters.
That's a really great way to put it. So you spoke about immediately getting pulled out of the situation that caused you anxiety and stress. Like that was sort of like a knee-jerk reaction. So if you had an opportunity to educate the adults that made that decision for you or with you, what would be advice or suggestions that you would give them in order to assess the situation better? Because what you described was you were anxious in the situation and then you were isolated by being jerked out of the situation.
Yeah.
So what would have been a better response of the adults around you?
I think what happened was during that situation is that my school system panicked. They saw something was going wrong. They didn't know how to handle the situation. So by, seeing something wrong, the best way for any situation is just to remove it completely. And so I think what's more important is that, like, I'm not the only one who struggles mentally in my school. And so I can't imagine if, all my students or all my classmates go up to somebody and is like, I'm struggling like how I was, and I can't imagine them just pulling them, right? Mm-hmm. And so it was interesting because, especially with this whole COVID situation, I was a little like, how do I word this? It was very like shocking almost. Like I don't want to say that because this is a global pandemic and it's serious, but I remember when I was having issues, I was like, I don't know like how I could do this. Could I probably do like an online class or this? And the option was out the window. I was like, no, we can't do that. Sorry. But next thing you know, when everyone needed it, it was easy just to, switch to online and like set up a camera. And I'm like, I mean, maybe that's just me being selfish, but I just feel like I would have enjoyed, interaction with my classmates if I could just, try to accommodate like that instead of being completely removed, because I feel like that would just slowly make me progress into, wanting to go, because, I was just completely removed. And so I was isolated from my friends. I was isolated from, all the things that I could have done. So, I mean, I think it's just, in their perspective, I wish that they, took the time and tried to figure something out instead of, just cutting the whole thing. Because I'm not the only one. If I was the only one, then I could understand. But, that's why no one really wants to come talk to these people, because they know that they're not going to take them seriously, or they're not going to really try to help them. It's more like, okay, well, you're having a problem. That's someone else's problem, so I'm going to redirect you. But it's not. So
what was special about the PM program that made it work for you?
I really enjoyed the program. Could use some work, but I really enjoyed the fact that I could, minimize my triggers by going into school a little bit later, but also feeling like a human being, that I could actually enter a school and sit down in a classroom, whether it was like 5 people to like 10 people in a class. It still felt like I could be a person again, instead of just removed from the situation, going to the library every other week for 2 hours with a teacher and then leaving. It felt more like I was a student at the school, and that I belonged in the school, and that I wasn't just some person who just, was enrolled here. Like I felt like I could do this, and then I could, do what other people do. Obviously it's not the same, but I still felt like I had a place in the school instead of just being some random person, So I really did enjoy the program, though I really do wish they had more options for, people who do go to PM, because there's many people go to PM school for different reasons. And we didn't have honors programs, and I was an honor kid for all my high school.
Forever.
Yeah, and I couldn't do honor programs because they don't provide those. And it's like, I didn't get to take. I never took geometry before, and like they don't provide those things. And I think that's something that they should work on, and that I just think they should. So, yeah.
Okay. So when you think of young people out there, isolated maybe, too anxious to ask for help, what resources in your experience have been the most helpful to your recovery and your healing?
Right. Social media is a big thing in this day and age, especially for teenagers and children. And sometimes it's harmful, but at the same time, if you fix and modify your own things that you see, it could help a lot. And I know it helped me a lot to see other likewise people struggling. Like I never met anyone, who really like couldn't go to school, or who did homeschool or did PM school. But through online, I noticed that, people would post their, healing journey. And I wanted to take the ride with them and see, like, oh, maybe I should try what they're doing because it looks like it's working out for them. And sometimes it won't work for me, and that's okay. But at least I have an idea of what to do. And not only that, but also by joining these social media things and like being invested in other people's progress, it motivates you to progress on your own. By learning new things, it's like, oh, I just learned something new that probably people don't know about. Like how service dogs are not just people with PTSD that have them. It's like learning things that, you don't need to know, sure, but I think it's so interesting in being connected. It feels personal, like when you connect like that, and you feel like, oh, I belong here too. I remember I felt that way too one time, or I've experienced that too. And by connecting that way, instead of like, because our communities, some are pretty small and you can't find people like you, but on social media you can see people and it's like, wait, someone who's like me is healing, I can do that too. And so by finding those primary sources, instead of just like looking up a random article that they show you in health class, like you can see real people living their real life with these issues and seeing how they progress and how they heal. And sometimes you see them fall, but you see them also get back up. And it's motivation for you to, feel the same way. I want to feel that. And I want to see, like, I want people to look at me and be like, you know what, I'm really proud of you. The same way that you look at these people and like, I'm proud of you that you did that. It's just, it's social media was a great way for me to learn about mental health and to also, connect. So I would recommend, being on social media and looking out for people.
What has always amazed me about you is that you set up challenges for yourself. I saw you saying, okay, I want to do this, so I'm going to make the plans to do this. And you worked for months setting up the experience that you wanted to have. And I remember when the time came, you couldn't do it. But you bounced back. Many people, young or adults, would have just given up. But you found something within yourself that said, you know what? I set something up to try to expand my ability, and it didn't work out, but it's okay. And then you made other challenges. So I guess I think it would be so helpful if you could talk about what allowed you to set up the challenge for yourself, a personal and individual challenge, and have such acceptance when it didn't happen, when you still were not able to meet what you were attempting to. How did you recover and keep going? Like, tell me about that.
Honestly, a miracle by faith. I'm joking, but like it really, I was thankful though, because during those times building up to that event, I really started to bond with myself. And I knew that I knew it in my heart that this was going to happen, that I knew that I was going to set this up and it wasn't going to work. But I told myself, you know what? I know that's going to happen, and that's okay with that. I'm okay with that. I'm not worried about, the fact that maybe I'm going to miss out on something that I really wanted to do, because the misconception is that depressed people are just sad and boring all the time, but we like to have fun. We like to just be happy people. That's what everyone wants to be. And so I really wanted to do this thing, and I was like, okay, I'm going to set this whole thing up. I'm going to do my research. I'm going to set it up so it's foolproof. And yet I guess it was. So, and I was like, it really did crush me for a long time. But I remember waking up the next morning that when it passed, and I was like, you know what? It's beautiful out. And it's, I could do this again. And next time I do it, I'm gonna get farther, little by little. And I couldn't even imagine, I'm still shocked to this day that I even, took the time to even plan something out like that. And, even though it failed, I still felt proud of myself that I even like did that. Like I just it just, it really just feels like so good in your heart that you did that. And although it failed, I don't even care that it failed. And I wanted to do it. I just, the event that I wanted to go to meant so much to me that I was like, I don't even care. Like this just meant so much more that I can do this because I know when this event happens again, I'm gonna be able to go next time. So it really, it's just the bonding with yourself and just being okay with, little progresses like that. They're humongous victories. You may not notice that, but they really are. And so that's just, you just have to bond with yourself and be like, you know what? I got this. And if I don't got this, that's okay. I still got myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think also from where I'm sitting, what made a big difference was that you had so much support from your family. Like everybody was in on it. You planned to how you were going to get there and how to get the tickets. And you had online friends that were meeting you there that have supported you for a long time and something in common with them. And so it really, I just saw it like step by step, but all a while, your family was like behind you. You want to do this, we're going to contribute whatever we can to see that you can do something that you want to do. And it was so important. And it was really, I never called it a failure. It was like, okay, so you planned it, and this time you couldn't achieve what you desired, but you worked towards it, which really shows like that you're just ferocious, like you can build a house, you can go step by step and do what you have to do to get where you're going. And if it turns out that you don't make it that time, you have the fortitude to plan something else to try to do it again. And I guess that's hope, right? That's faith and that's hope that, I'm going to keep hammering at this. And so I guess if whoever views this gets nothing else from this, I think it's important to understand that young people are at the beginning of their lives. And things may not work out the way they would like them to work out, but that's not a reason to quit. It's just a reason to make a new plan and to attempt it again and again and again. We're fortunate because we're on Long Island in New York. We have a lot of options for resources. At our agencies, we have individual, we have group, we have family treatment. And so there's a lot of choices. There are groups for adolescents that struggle with depression and anxiety. There are groups for children that need socialization. There are adult depression and anxiety groups. There's support groups for just about whatever pod you fit into. And so young people can find help. Sometimes it's a phone call. We're also our clients or prospective clients can email us or text us and get our attention. It doesn't have to be a big public wave. I need help. I'm out here. Help me. It can be something as subtle as a text that says, this is my name. This is my number. This is what I'm struggling with. Will you help? So it can be simple for young people that feel like they don't have a loud voice or that they want to be invisible or disappear. A text can be your whisper. It can be your parents, you telling your parents, or a community member that you feel like you need to talk to someone. You don't always have to identify all of the details if you don't feel comfortable. You can just say, I know I need somebody to talk to. It could be a religious leader. It could be someone in the classroom. It could be a counselor at school. It could be any trusted adult or someone older than you. You can say, I need help. Can you guide me to have someone to talk to? That's what I need. Very simple. And then we'll take it from there. We'll help you do the rest. So sign on, even if it's hard. I want to thank Paige because she truly has been an inspiration, a personal inspiration to me. I work with young people that struggle all the time, and they're all exceptional. But having, a close relationship with Paige really has helped me assist other young people. It's been in a way because you're so honest and so articulate. You have helped me know the language to reach other young people and taught me how to open myself up so that people feel that I'm someone they can trust and someone they can talk to. Paige, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I would love it here.
How do I end it?